My name is Florentin Ionita, and I am a truth seeker.
Woohoo! Good morning, Spirit Sessions family. Come on in. Especially if you've ever been interested in astral travel, we've got the show for you today. So bring your notes, and we're even going to have an astral travel experience, you guys. So come on in, share out the show. Go to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, share it out on Facebook. Share it to your friends who you know would be into this too, because we're going to have a lot of fun today. Today we have an astral travel expert who teaches classes on it. I mean, this guy is so amazing. We're bringing him to you today. Welcome, Florentin Ionita. We are so glad to see you today. Woohoo!
Hello, thanks for having me.
So, there's so many things to ask. Okay, so many questions, but I want to start with your beginning journey. Like, you're creative as well, and so did your creativity help when you began to astral travel? I mean, tell me, what was your experience like bringing you to here where you're teaching us now?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of people ask me that because I started off working with visual effects for Hollywood movies. That was what I was doing for uh, at least 10 years of my career, my life. And um, and that was because I was really fascinated with creating creating cool stuff, like magical stuff, flying people. I worked on Iron Man, I worked on Superman, and to do all of these things that in the physical reality isn't really possible. Like was I was really passionate about that. So that was what drew me to working with movies. And then through that journey, I started to realize that actually I wanted to be able to do these kind of things. And I was trying to kind of question myself, is it possible that we humans have these kind of powers ourselves? And and I started to ask more existential questions as well, like, what is this world, what all that we live in? uh, to me, when we look at the place we live in, we're on a planet spinning in space, uh, with countless other planets around, and it's just like when you look at that, it really blows your mind, and you realize that there's so little that we know, and there's so much more that I wanted to know, certainly. And so I was kind of beginning my spiritual journey of truth, trying to figure out these things, and it got me kind of into different spiritual circles, and I went to different retreats. I did different plant medicines, explored with different psychedelics like mushrooms and all kinds of stuff. And at some point on the journey, people will tell me that there is this way that you can access altered states of consciousness, uh, without any substances at all. It's just through meditation, just the power of the power of the mind, and that sounded to me very interesting. And
Yeah.
so for the next years after, I just started to research that a lot more, and I went to different workshops, and I started to learn about this thing, astral projection. In the beginning, I had no idea what it was, and I was also very skeptic if it was actually real, or people were just imagining things in their mind, because I had that experience going to other workshops in the past that I felt like people were having all kinds of experiences in meditation, and I wasn't having anything. I was just sitting there, and I just kind of fell asleep, and nothing was really happening.
Right.
So I was
Yeah,
I
that's
was very
happened to me too. Yeah.
yeah. So that's how it started for me. That I discovered this in just by going through the rabbit hole. Like just following the rabbit hole and just going deeper and deeper and just keep going. And I started to learn more about these things.
Wow, that's so fascinating. So the question I want to ask now is about, like, is it scary to do? Is it dangerous? Because, like, is you gonna get captured by a reptilian or something? I mean, what's it like when you're out? Are you safe? Well,
Yeah,
maybe
that's
you
great.
should define it
Uh,
first. Let's define it, and then we'll jump into the fears.
sure, sure. Okay, so you're kind of diving into what is astral projection, and all of these things and the fears that comes with it. And so I'm very practical. I like to kind of explain things in a practical way. And there's if there's one thing everyone knows today, it's the internet and the power of the internet, the fact that we can connect to this massive network and do amazing things. Now, this is something that we created not long ago. This, just a few hundred years ago, we created this. This is quite new. But think about how old the universe is. Certainly, the universe also has a type of internet, and it does, and it's called the quantum field. That is this invisible field that connects every living being, everything on the planet, everything in the whole universe. And
Yes.
with this type of practice, like astral projection, we can tap into this universal internet. And a good way to think about it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen fractals, or if you think about like trees are like fractals. You have the stem of the tree, and then it branches out into lots of different small branches. You can think of realities a bit like that. There's loads of different realities. We are right now operating in a physical dimension consciously. We're actually operating on multiple other places as well, non-consciously. We're not conscious of that. But right now we're in this physical experience, and um, we are able to see this physical reality that we're experiencing right now. But there's countless other realities all around us, but they're at different frequency bands. A bit like when you have a radio, the radio is on the table, but it can perceive different frequencies if you just change the dial. All the radio channels are in the same place, but if you change the frequency, you can actually listen to specific channels with specific music. But they're all existing, all mumbled up together in a way, just separated by frequency. And it's the same with reality. Like, you have reality existing on multiple layers of existence. Scientists think that we have to travel into a spaceship and get to another planet to find alien life forms. But actually, you can just shift your frequency, and you can experience a whole different reality. And that's really what astral projection is all about: is getting into a very deep trance state where you can shift away from the physical reality into an alternative non-physical reality. And there's countless of them. One of them will be called the astral planes, and that's the one that most people heard about it because we say astral projection. But there's also the etheric planes, and there's many other planes. I don't even know if we have names for all of the countless places. And when you go to these places, you can find very primitive people or beings, different types of aliens that maybe haven't even invented fire. And then you can go to other dimensions where they're so advanced that we wouldn't even understand what they're doing. They look like they're flying around and doing magic, and we just wouldn't get their technology. So
So
there's
I
all
have a
kinds of
question.
information. Hmm.
What you just said sparked. It's like we read the Akashic records, and that's what I do when I'm not doing the show.
Nice.
Is that a form of astral projection? Because I go and I see and I feel everything, and then I tell it back to the person. It's like, oh wow, you're wearing this or that, or is that a form of it, or has nothing to do with it?
I like that question because that's a very common question, actually. And so let's break it up into two different things. So Akashic record stuff, yes, you can do that with astral projection. You can go out of body and you can visit the Akashic records, and you can find information about the past, the future, or probable future, the present, and pretty much anything that's happening. And that's a whole practice of its own. Reading the Akashic record. That's a big domain of its own. But that's a very useful thing because you can actually get information. Now, how you describe it, I think the way you would do it is you would sit down and just kind of getting into a silent state of mind, meditation, and start channeling this information from the Akashic records. Am I right? This is how you would do it, right?
Yeah, I don't have to get so quiet because it's just all coming up right there for me. It's like, oh wow, I could see this, I could see that, and I have to try to keep up. No.
That's cool. But you're doing it consciously, that you're still in your body. Like, you're still conscious of your physical body, your room. You can hear people around you. Like, you're fully present in the body at the same time as you're doing this, right?
Yeah, I am, but the same there. I could tell you the temperature there as I could here. So yeah,
Mm.
it's like equal.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so that will be a type of astral projection. we call that remote viewing. Is when you are able to, you're basically in two places at the same time, but you are very present as well in the physical body. So with the astral projection practice, we would actually go through the process of detaching our consciousness or project. I like more the idea of projecting our consciousness, because a lot of people think that when we leave the body, it's like an empty shell and somebody can come and take over it.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah,
not like that, because the thing is that I think one of the things that most people don't know about this stuff is that, and it's really really helpful for people to understand that we are not in our physical bodies in the first place. Our consciousness is beyond our physical body, and we are
right.
projecting ourselves in this physical body right now to have a human experience. But we can project our awareness outside and anywhere we want as well,
Good
into
point.
time.
right?
No, like when you go into a memory, you're projecting yourself backward in time, really, in a lot of ways, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the idea of leaving the body empty while you're traveling, that's not the case, because your consciousness is first of all, your consciousness is multidimensional, is able to be in multiple places at the same time. So every time we project out of body, we're also present. A part of us is still present within with the physical body. So if you're like in bed having astral projection and your partner sneezes or moves a little bit, you will feel that in your projection. You'll be like, oh no, my partner is making noises. Stop. Or if you have to go to the bathroom, which is always a killer, because you have to like, I have to go to the
Oh,
bathroom, and you have
yeah,
to like
yeah.
stop the projection and go back to, and that. So we always have awareness of the physical body. So in that way, it's very safe to know that no one's going to come and take it when you're out of body. Like, don't worry, your consciousness is still very much aware of what's happening to the physical body, because you're still connected to it. You never disconnect from it until you die physically. That's the only time you would disconnect. But you don't do that with astral projection. And I think that's very important to tell, because a lot of people think that they're just going to leave their body. And what if they cannot get back to their body? What happens then? They're going to get lost.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
also, that is very easy to go back to the body. You just think about your bedroom, or you just think about returning, and within a second, you're just back in the physical body. Very, very, very simple.
Wow.
Did I miss out some questions?
No,
Yeah,
no, people are just
that was
commenting.
yeah, that was so totally amazing. Well, I had another experience one time, not even trying anything, but I was in a forest that was so dark. And where I was sleeping in the cabin was like a small box, just barely bigger than me, right? And I was in this. Somehow I left myself at that time, and I'm zooming from this tree to that tree, and I'm like, what is happening? What's going on? Because I didn't understand. And I got so scared that I wasn't going to remember my way back. So I started just thinking about where I was and everything, and it brought me back. That wasn't some kind of weird, spontaneous astral projection or anything, was it?
I mean, it could have been if you. The way I would define an actual, like a normal astral projection, is when you are completely in this other place. Like your awareness is no longer focused or aware of your environment. Like you're no longer thinking or feeling or sensing the environment that your physical body is in. You're now completely immersed in this other reality where you're seeing everything clearly, you're hearing everything, you're touching things.
Yeah,
You're just there as much as
right,
you're here right now talking to me, and you're conscious that you're
right.
here. You'll be somewhere else when you're projecting. And so
Wow.
if you ever had an experience where you're somewhere else,
Yeah,
and where your body isn't, then that
yeah.
would be an astral projection. If you're,
Oh,
especially if you're conscious.
that's so
Now,
exciting. Well, I'm encouraged now.
Lisa
You
was,
too, Rhonda?
yeah, Lisa was asking, is lucid dreaming connected to astral projection?
Yes, that's a really good question as well. And so, because there's this kind of like thing in the community, like is it the same thing? Is it different? Because
Yeah,
there's many
really.
similarities between them. So what's really going on? So I would say, um, so lucid dreaming has been scientifically proven that it's happening. Like people can lucid dream, which is basically that people can have a dream that they are conscious that they are actually in a dream. They know, oh, I'm dreaming right now, so I can fly, I can have sex, I can do whatever I want. Like people know that. And scientists have been able to prove that this is actually the people having this experience. Now, scientists are believing that this is all happening in the person's mind, that this dream that they have, that this experience is all happening in their mind. It's just their imagination. They're just seeing it. It's all happening up here. When you go into the astral projection stuff, you get to be exposed to a much bigger reality, a reality where consciousness isn't in your brain, it isn't in your mind. Like I said before, it's outside of you. And so when we have a dream or a lucid dream or an astral projection, we're not having it in our brain. We're having it in, you can say like a parallel reality that exists beyond this physical one. So now the difference between the different experiences will be just different dimensions. So you can go to like the mental plane, which will be a dimension where you would have dreams, lucid dreams. That will still be a projection. So when you dream, you're still projecting, but you're usually projecting to this kind of mental plane where you're playing out your desires, your fears, your thoughts. You'll be going and seeing maybe family members there that you see in the physical. Like you play things out. This kind of like your own little simulated reality that you have to play with.
So it's
And
sort
then
of like within your own energy frequency bubble, like that whole.
exactly where it exists related to our bodies, I don't know, but I know it's not. I know it's like out there, and I think distance doesn't really matter so much. But it's just like I was saying before, it's just a different frequency, so a different dimension. So you'll have the dimensions of the dreams, which are usually your own projected stuff that you're experiencing, and then you have the dimensions of other places like the astral planes.
Okay.
And when you go to these places, those are much more solid usually. Like you, a lot of times you have to look for things to find something to do. You might end up on a street in a city, and you look around, and it's like there's no one there. You have to kind of float around and try to find something to do. There's no one there. Versus when you have a lucid dream or a dream, you're usually in the middle of the action. You know, all your friends are there. There's something happening. There's always something big happening, and that's one way of seeing it. Another thing is that lucid dreams and dreams usually are very fluid, and they change very quickly. You know, you might look to the left, you see a door, and then you look to the right, you look back to the left, the door is now a couch or something else. It's not very solid. Versus an astral projection is very solid. Like the experiences, people report that it's at least as real as physical reality, and sometimes they even report that the experiences are even more real than physical reality, where they're able to really like experience this other realm, and they can taste the texture of the wall by looking at it, and they can smell the flowers, or they can hear
Yeah.
sounds really far away, like very extended state of being, where reality feels much more real than the physical reality. So
What
that's
a
how I would.
state to be in for healing, though, right?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be a wonderful state to be in to get amazing healing?
Yes, that's a great state to be in for healing, and we have students that have used it successfully for healing. Quite some amazing experiences. One of our students, Carly Ryan, she was when she joined our program, she had a 12% functionality on her kidney, and she was on the transplant list. But then COVID happened, so she couldn't actually get a new kidney, and so she turned to alternative ways. She joined our program to learn how to astral project, so she can connect with her spiritual guides and do different things. She didn't really tell us about her condition at that point, so I guess we weren't too worried. But found out later on, and what happened was that with this practice, she was able to go out of body and start connecting with her spiritual guides, who then was showing her that she could actually heal this kidney.
Wow.
It wasn't that she needed to change it physically, like a surgery. Those ways, spiritual, non-physical ways, that she could actually heal this kidney. And so they give her different practices. They gave her different energy works and different meditation and different mindset training, because she was in a very toxic mindset thanks to the doctors that told her that she's going to die soon. And so she was thinking those thoughts and creating that reality. Now her guides were telling her that if you stop thinking that way, if you start seeing yourself healed and working on that vision instead, you can actually start healing yourself. And so after a year of doing this on a regular basis, she got her kidney up to 80% functionality, and she
Wow.
didn't
Oh
have
my
Wow.
to.
God. That's a
Awesome.
miracle.
Yeah, it's a miracle, you know. But it's if you think about it, it's just science that we just haven't fully understood yet, you know. and
Wow.
and we're seeing this happening more and more, that people are able to do this with these non-physical tools, and it's so inspiring because imagine what we can do, you know. Like there's so many things that we can do, and we're just scratching the surface right now.
Yes, we are. It's like, so what does this feel like? And how do we use it to help our spiritual evolution, to take us beyond what we're doing here and now?
Okay, that's that question. You know, I would like to answer that question with a more of experiential way of answering this question. I would like to do a little meditation about this because I've been sitting here just explaining things, you know, very logical. It's like this, like that. But how about we do a little bit of an experimentation where we just kind of try to imagine ourselves having an out of body experience. So what I'm going to do, I
Sound.
want to guide you through what it normally feels like to have an out of body experience, the different phases that we go through. And so if I don't know what you guys are doing that are listening right now, but if you guys can just like sit in silence for about, you know, turn off the notification on your phone, close the doors, just take a moment to just be with yourself. And I'm going to guide you in just a 5 minute little meditation. And we're going to go into a state trying to explain how this astral projection thing feels like, and also the benefits that would come with it. So, okay. So if you guys just relax wherever you are, if you're sitting in a chair, or if you are in a couch or a bed, like get as relaxed as possible. Just kind of lay down, you know, put aside whatever you're doing. Just take a moment for yourself right now. Just take a moment to just be with yourself. And I would like you to close your eyes right now. And I want you to imagine that you are going to now have an astral projection. And I want you to imagine you're doing this because you want to explore more of yourself and more of the universe, source, God, whatever you want to call it. It's for a good intention. It's for your well-being. And so you allow yourself to just take a moment and just be with yourself. Just feel your breath. Take a deep breath in, breathe out. Now, this exercise is not going to necessarily take you out of body. It's more to just visualize for you how it might feel to have an out of body experience. For those of you that are getting out of body with this, I would congratulate you. Okay, so I want you to just focus your senses, your awareness on your internal senses. So I want you to be able to sense the little tingling sensations that you have in your body. It's a little energy that you feel moving through your body. Maybe you feel a bit of stress or different emotions come up. You can feel your breath. You can feel how your breath is going in and out of your chest and through your nose and out through your nose, in through your nose. And you can even feel your heartbeat. Now I want you to imagine that you are now starting this practice, this astral projection practice, which is basically a practice of getting into a very deep state. And there's different ways to get into this different stages. But for today, we're going to use what I call the direct method, which is basically a way of silencing your mind and silencing your body, especially getting your body into a very, very relaxed state. And you're laying still. You want to be completely still, not moving a single muscle. And after about, you know, 10 to half an hour, 10 minutes to even 30 minutes, the body would usually go to sleep. And so you would reach a state where your body feels very numb and you kind of lose awareness of if you have your hands pointing up or down. It starts to feel like you're just very peacefully lying there comfortably. There's no itching, there's no disturbance. The body feels super relaxed, and you know now that the body is sleeping, but you are still awake. And this is quite a unique experience because most times when we are going to bed or lying down, we usually have our mind that falls asleep, and then our body falls asleep afterwards. So we never really experience how it is to have the body to fall asleep. Now, as an astral projector, we would actually feel the sensations of the body going to sleep. And then if we keep going with this, we get into a very, very deep state. And we call it the theta brainwave state because we also have to get our mind into this very deep state. It's just above sleep. So sometimes people will fall asleep and it's fine. But if you can stay awake just enough, and if you can get deep enough, then what will happen after a certain amount of time, I would say around, let's say, an hour, maybe it can be even half an hour, depends for different people, it's different amount. But after some time, you will start feeling so relaxed and you start seeing strange images maybe appearing in front of you, flashing through, in and out. You might also start hearing strange sounds, like buzzing sounds or voices. Maybe there's a voice saying something in your ear. Really strange. And the most famous is the vibrations. You might start feeling something that there's a electric vibration going through your whole body. And in this moment, as an astral projector, we know that now it's time for us to exit the body. Better yet, to leave the bed that we're in or the couch. And so we simply, in this moment when we have these sensations, these non-physical sensations, we simply just sit up from the bed. And so if you can imagine yourself now that you are sitting up, or you, let's say if you're already sitting up, let's say that you're standing up. So imagine yourself now standing up next to the chair that you're in, or the sofa or the bed. And you now just literally just left your body. And it can be so real, this moment where you're sitting up straight in your room. It can be so real that a lot of people actually think they're standing up physically. And so they actually stop the experience there because they think, oh, I messed it up. I'm now standing physically. And so one of the things I like to do when this happens, when I'm standing up, is to actually just grab onto, let's say, a table next to me. So there's going to be a table next to your bed or a chair. You can grab onto physical objects, and they will feel physical. Like you'll feel that there is a density. It's like you are out of body in a energetic form, but you can still feel objects. And so let's imagine now that you're standing next to your bed, sofa, chair, and you're now holding on to a table with one of your hands. And it's nice. You can hold on to this table and you can feel, okay, I'm holding on to something. And usually in the beginning, the first minutes or seconds, we don't have a lot of vision. So it can just be black and just completely dark. You don't see anything, but you can definitely hear that something is different. And now that you're holding on to this table, you can actually squeeze the table and your fingers will pass through the table. Your hand might go through the table. Like you can actually press your limbs through any objects in your room, even your wall, like any solid object, you will feel them, but you can also pass through them because you are now vibrating at a different frequency than your physical surroundings. And you can actually pass through them just like a ghost, basically. And so now I want you to imagine the sensation of having achieved this, that you're now finally out of body. You know, you managed to do this. You tried maybe for a few weeks to get to this point, and now you're out of body. You just put your hands, your fingers through the table, and it's like, oh my God, I did it. I'm out of body. And now another thought comes up to you in your mind, which is relax, stay calm, do not get excited, because you know what happens if you get excited or if you feel a lot of fear or any very intense emotions, you will be sucked back to the body. So you have to remember to stay calm. So you remind yourself to stay calm. And then you remind yourself to raise your awareness so that you can start seeing things. So you make different commands like awareness now, vision now, to start seeing your surroundings. And little by little, this dark vision that you had before, it starts to become a bit blurry vision, and then it kind of just fades into full on HD, high definition, 4K resolution, whatever you want, like super high resolution. And you can now see your room very clearly. And you can look around in your room, and it's just like, it's just breathtaking to see your room from this other state of consciousness. And you know that you're not seeing with your physical eyes now, because you are seeing it from another perspective than you were in the bed. You're now seeing the perspective of maybe the middle of the room where you are right now. And of course, one of the curiosities in this moment might be to check up on your body. And so you turn around and you look at your bed and you see your body. You see your body laying there very, very peacefully, just sleeping or relaxing. Maybe it's a chair, maybe it's a bed. And again, you feel this rush of like happiness, like, oh my God, I am now out of my body and I'm seeing my physical body and I'm existing. I'm able to think consciously. I have thoughts, I have memories, I have full awareness, and I'm able to see my physical body lying in bed. And that's a pretty interesting experience, because that lets you know that there is a separation there between your body and who you are. And it's a bit of a confirmation there that, oh my God, I am much more than my physical body, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to have this experience. Now, after you had that little moment of, that's cool, you remind yourself of your action plan, which we always want to have when we go out of body. We want to have a plan of action that we're going to perform when we get a body. And so in this experience, you decide that you wanted to fly up and see the cosmos. So you move yourself towards the window and you latch on to the edges, and then you just pull yourself through the window, head first, and then the body. And you can feel this sharp layer of the glass just passing through your non-physical body. And then you're now outside of your house. And to your surprise, you're not falling down the window from the floor that you are on. You're actually floating. And you can float wherever you want. And so you turn around and you see clouds, and you decide that you want to float up to those clouds. And just with that thought of, I want to go to these clouds, you're just there, like, because that's how it works when we're out of body. It's like instant travel. We just float to wherever we look at or want to go to, with some practice, of course. And then you're now above the clouds and you're looking down, and you can see maybe your neighborhood, and you're seeing cars and you're seeing buildings, and you're flying essentially. And this is just this experience right now is just breathtaking and so much fun to fly. But you don't stop there. You're like, okay, I wonder how far I can go, how high I can go. So you feel the winds going through you, moving through you, and you just decide to float up into space. So you float up into space really quickly, like shoo, like a rocket. You just shot out into space, and you feel so liberated. You feel so there's so much bliss in this feeling of being so free, and there's no weight that's pulling you down. There's no physical body weight. You're just completely weightless, and you just float up super easily, just with a thought. You're just up above the sky. You're now above the earth, and you're looking down at the planet, and you see this beautiful blue planet that we live on. And you have that moment that astronauts have, that overview effect, where you realize that we're all living in the same little bubble. Like, we're all just in the same place. We shouldn't be fighting. We shouldn't be competing. We should love each other, because we're all living in the same place. We're neighbors. We're a family. We're all the same, and we're just living on this living organism that's floating in space, and it's profound. And it just you just have that feeling of like, wow, this is so epic. And in that moment, everything zooms out for you, and the earth zooms out, and you see more stars and more planets and more galaxies, and you have this profound feeling and knowledge of how everything is somehow connected in a way that you can't really explain or understand with words. But it's just like there's this interconnectedness between everything, and it's all just this magnificent, magical experiences that we're all having, and we're all sharing this experience. And you're now just levitating in space for a moment, just kind of sinking into this feeling of oneness, this feeling of being connected to everything and everyone, and just seeing this bigger picture, this zoomed out picture, away from your current physical life with the problems that you have there, away from everything that is problematic, in this expanded state of consciousness where you're just seeing everything from this magical kind of godly point of view. And you just look down and just think, oh my God, life is a bliss. This is amazing. And I get to experience this. And I get to have a physical body. I get to be a human, to enjoy these kind of physical things that, as a non-physical being, it's difficult. So you feel this intense gratitude for your life that you have, and you look at what a gift you have to live in this life, to have this physical life that you have, with all the struggles and difficulties, but all these beautiful things that you're doing, and you feel gratitude for the fact that you chose to reincarnate, because you have this understanding that you did choose to do that. And to your right, you also feel there's a presence of this loving being that's kind of been with you the whole journey, invisible, but you can sense that it's somebody that you've known for a long time. A lot of people call that a spiritual guide that has been with you for a very long time. And you feel this immense love coming from this being that knows you, that has been with you through many lifetimes and helped you and guided you, and you've been with them, and you have this sense of peace, the sense of like, oh, you've always been here for me, haven't you? You know, that feeling of knowing, and feeling of safety and comfort, that this being has always been there for you, and it's always there taking care of you. Even when you get lost in the physical world and your problems are overwhelming and people are rude, that person, this being has always been there for you. It's always there for you to take care of you. And you also realize it's not just one, there's many. There's a few of them. And they're all there to just be with you in this very moment that you have this experience in the cosmos. And this feels amazing. And in that moment, you feel so much love, and there's such a rush of emotions that within a blink of an eye, you are now back in a physical body, and you wake up in your bed, and you have tears in your eyes, because you just had an experience that was so profound and so beyond your physical experience as a human that you can't even put words on this. And so you guys can come back now, open your eyes, and just imagine you're back. You're back.
Wow. That was a great explanation too.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, you're an amazing guide out there. I love that.
Here's a quick question that came to my mind as we're doing. So, do you astral project most nights, or do you kind of like portion yourself out so you don't do it every night? Does it tire you out?
If I could do it every night, like as a projector, you can do it every night. And some people do it every night. I go through periods where I also do it every night. But we also have a physical life here, and I think it's really important to balance what we're here to do with this other experience as well. And so for me, it's something that I do, a few times a week usually. That's my goal. A few times a week, I want to keep doing this. Keep dedicating myself to this practice and keep exploring, because there's so much to explore and learn. And I've only scratched the surface. There's so many experiences to have, and I'm always very inspired to hear my students' experiences, because a lot of them have more profound experiences than I've ever had.
Oh, wow.
And it's so interesting to see how someone can just very quickly learn how to do this and have very profound experiences within the first months or weeks. Some students connect with their deceased loved ones. We had one student, Rena Baker. She was in a car accident with her husband, and he died pretty much immediately or in the hospital the same day. And so she wanted to connect with him, and luckily she was open-minded enough to think that that was a possibility. And so she came to us and she was learning how to do this. And just within a few weeks, she started to connect with her husband, and to then have have meetings with her and see her talk about it with this insane aura and happiness. It's I couldn't believe that she just lost somebody, because when she was talking about it, she wasn't talking about I lost this. Well, she wasn't sad, she wasn't crying, she was so excited that she was able to connect with him through this practice, because it confirmed to her that he's not gone, that he still is around, and that she can connect with him. And also brings us with this kind of feeling of this healing, this comfort, knowing that, oh, we also are going to continue when we die, right? So we don't just disappear and that's it. That was the whole purpose of life, was just to die one day, and that's all. There's much more, and I think that is so healing, and that's one of the benefits as well with astral projection, that you start to understand that you are not this physical body. There's more of you, and you can be without this vessel. So the disattachment of identity with the body starts to happen throughout these experiences. The more you have them, the more you start to disattach your understanding of who you are away from the body, which is, I think, very helpful to not identify yourself with the body, so that you don't get so afraid of living life, afraid of something's going to happen to you, or dying, or somebody else that you love, because you have that understanding that we are so much more. We are multiple dimensional beings, and we're going to continue, and there's so much more adventures to go on, and this is just one of them. But it doesn't mean that this is not worthy of our time. This is one of them, but this is a super important one, and we need to cherish it, and we need to really live this life, because you're only going to be this person in this physical body once, right?
Right. And we decided to come and do this. This is this was our plan when we started out for this life, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so from a spiritual evolution point of view, the reason I wanted to guide you through that whole process was just to kind of illustrate what an experience could be like, and how, you can imagine what an impact that would have on your spiritual evolution. Because I think for most people, it's spirituality is something that is a belief system, because it's usually not something that they've experienced. They've usually read something somewhere, or they read a book, or they've heard somebody talk about these things, and they create a belief system around it. That's fine, but there's only so far you can go with that, with the belief system. But when you start having your own personal experiences of these non-physical realities and these non-physical experiences, like you guys have, for example, that's when you become, and you get into the knowing area, when you start to just know, like, you know that this is just one reality. You know that you're more than a physical body. Like, you start knowing these things. And when you go from belief to knowing, it's a very big step. It's a very big step, and that brings a lot of healing with it. It brings a lot of like comfort, a lot of like peace to your soul. I find it, this feeling of like, oh, everything's gonna be okay. Like, I don't have to worry about everything all the time. And because let's face it, we have a lot of pressure on us as human beings in our societies. It's not easy. A lot of times it's really hard, and we also make it harder by putting the more pressure on ourselves and beating ourselves up for things that don't go the way we wish them to. And so stepping out of that sometimes and just kind of like, okay, wait, I'm not just this experience. I am much more. Going into that mindset of shifting away from this only physical being to this non-physical, expanded, multidimensional being, not through belief, but through experience. That is a very powerful mindset shift, which would echo out into all areas of your life. Everything will change. The way you see everything changes. And I find that to be probably one of the biggest benefits of why people would do, or why we are practicing this practice of leaving our bodies, which can sound really crazy to a lot of people, but it's profound.
It's a tool. It's a homing device too, isn't it? In
Mm-hmm.
some way. So Rhonda, did you have experience with his meditation?
I'm in and out. That's the problem. That's where I
Okay.
go in and out. I get dragged back very quickly to the physical. But I can see how this would open up your perspective of the world too, that we're connected, even though we can all connect to this, and it would expand our, like, just that knowingness that there is something that ties us all together, like source or spirit, like we're so much more. That's pretty profound.
Yeah, and it's very available for us.
Yeah.
It's not something that, in the past this would be very secret. This would be a secret knowledge that only was given to very high level monks that would be up in the mountains meditating for their whole life. It's not like that anymore. We have access to this knowledge, information, and tools today to be able to access these states very quickly.
And you teach this course. You teach people how to get into that state, and how to, and probably just assure them that it's not dangerous. And I think that fear keeps us from doing many things. I mean, people who are afraid of water don't swim, but it's so easy to swim when you relax, right? So I imagine astral projection is easy once you relax, sort of into it.
Yeah, and once you have your first experiences as well, the fear goes away quite quickly, because you realize that you always come back to the body. It's very easy. Actually, it's too easy, so it's annoyingly easy because you come back too early. And you also, I mean, another thing to say about this is that we are doing this every night already, but we're just not doing it consciously. A lot of us are having these projections, and we wake up thinking they're just dreams, but a lot of them are actually more than dreams. And so if you think about it from that point of view, that we're already doing this, it's pointing to the fact that this is a very natural thing that we're doing. Is as natural as dreaming and sleeping. So, and everyone is doing this. Everyone is sleeping and dreaming, and hey, we still wake up and we're fine. We're not injured, or something bad hasn't happened to us. We might have a nightmare that we wake up from, like, oh, that was not pleasant, but we're still fine. We're coming back every single time in one piece, and everything is fine. But we're doing these things unconscious. So now the only thing that we're actually doing with this practice is the practice of becoming conscious in these experiences that are already taking place non-consciously. Like, I think your higher self, your soul, is conscious of these projections that are happening in the night, but you as an individual in this experience, you're not really conscious of that, because the experiences are happening beyond your brain. So that's why, every time you wake up in the morning, you have to kind of download that information from the dreams, from the experiences you've had, into your brain to actually remember them.
True. Yeah, and that takes practice as well. You were talking about, you've had experience with like plant medicine and that. Is it better to have like, and I was thinking too, is there things that can assist you to do this? Like sometimes plant medicine and other mind altering drugs kind of keep you from going, or do you find that it helps enhance the experience? What's in your experience?
So yeah, my experience, I've never had personally an out of body experience with any psychedelics because I find it it makes your physical body very active. Your pulse goes up, maybe you're sweating, your mind is so intense, it's just thinking loads of thoughts. It's full on, like it's a very full on experience usually, and it's very physical, and it kind of keeps you uh, in the body. However, a lot of people have had out of body experiences with ayahuasca, with mushrooms, with LSD, but they're doing it in a very different way than we are doing it. The way they do it, it usually doesn't even happen because they are trying to make it happen. It just happens. They're like in the middle of the session, and they're like, it's full on, and then suddenly they're like out of their body, having an experience somewhere else, completely unaware of what the body's doing. And it's usually like a catapulting experience. It's usually like a pretty aggressive way of like leaving your body in a very aggressive way. Not everyone is ready for that type of experience. It can be quite a shock for some people. So to me, psychedelics is a much more intense, kind of uncontrollable experience.
Mhm.
Versus with an astral projection, it's a very gradual thing. You're sober, completely sober when you do it. The better, the more sober you are, the better. So like the like no alcohol, no nothing, and then when you do it, you go through many phases. And if you have fear, or if you have some subconscious fear, which a lot of people do have, those are kind of like they're gonna a bit like they're a bit like safety mechanisms that don't let you go too far if you're not ready for it. So if
Mhm.
you're not psychologically ready for it yet, then your subconscious mind knows that, and it's because it doesn't really allow you to go further. So you might get into a deep state, you might even feel the vibrations, but then you freak out at the vibrations. You're like, oh my God, oh, what was that? And then it doesn't work. So then what we are doing with our program is that we understood that the subconscious mind has a big role to play in this whole practice. The conscious mind is something that has to be put aside, and it's just put on this kind of observer mode, this state of just being, just observing what's happening, but it's not actively doing anything. It's usually the subconscious mind that takes over for this experience to happen. And so for the subconscious mind to be in the right state, what we have to do sometimes with students is to help them overcome these blockages. And we do that through hypnotherapy, and also we work with healers to help them with different blockages that might come up with the practice. And so what we found was that it's not enough to just give people amazing tools and step by step, practices. It's also very important that you deal with the boss, which is the subconscious mind, so that the boss is okay with the experience.
So, I was going to ask you, does music help? Um, do you
Yes,
find that there's certain frequencies help, or?
yeah, definitely. Binaural beats helps. Music helps. Uh, it helps because it helps you to get into the right state. It helps you to stay awake, because if you do it in silence, a lot of times you can fall asleep or you have lots of thoughts. So yeah, sound technology is something that we use in my program. We have a lot of different soundtracks for different methods, because we teach the three main methods. Which is basically how to astral project through sleep, so you can go to sleep, and then in the sleep state you can convert or transition from a lucid dream into an astral projection. That'll be one method, and we have specific soundtracks for that one. And then we have the semi-indirect method, which is something that we do upon awakening from sleep. So you're waking up from sleep, and immediately upon awakening you can perform some techniques, and then you can go out of body. And for this method as well, we have other type of soundtracks that help you wake up and remind you of what you have to do. And then for the third method, which is the direct method, we have other soundtracks that help you get into this very deep meditational state where you go from meditation into this very deep state, and then you can project from there. So there's different ways of achieving this specific state. And the reason we teach different ways is because we notice that everyone is very different. It's not one method is not going to work for everybody. So we created different methods so that different people that are maybe light sleepers or deep sleepers can also get into these states in that way.
It's very cool. Which brings me into some of our 3 questions that we have. Do you have a favorite crystal that you like, or do you find that crystals help when you're going into that state?
So crystals, I like quartz. I really I enjoy quartz. I actually created a full body suits that had quartz on all the chakra points, and I was experimenting they're like this big crystals. I had them on my third eye in different places, and I was experimenting with trying to get a body with this suit and see if there was any difference having these crystals on the chakra points. I actually didn't experience any difference though.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if it actually has a big impact on the practice. For myself, I haven't seen that to be the case, but I do know that for other people has a massive power. So some people will tell me that they held on to a specific stone, and oh my God, they had like the most profound astral projection. And so, I don't know if it's because of the stone, or if it's because of their belief that that stone is going to have a powerful impact.
Placebo effect. Yeah.
This is the thing with astral projection. A lot of people's belief systems will have a massive impact on their experience, and you can have very supportive, empowering belief systems that can really help you to get out of body and have amazing experiences. But you can also have very limiting belief systems that can keep you into the fear mind and keep you into a sort of state of having less projections or less powerful experiences. So the person's consciousness that they come to this practice with has a massive impact on how it's going to go for them with the practice.
So in your astral projections, I assume that now you can kind of guide where you want to go because you have your master. Have you had contact with alien beings or ones that are not on our physical plane in the normal state of beings, or? Okay.
Yeah, so I've never met any like specific alien-looking beings that I think some people would think that as soon as you leave this physical reality, you'll meet very different looking beings. I usually meet very humanoid looking, very human looking people. Maybe, sometimes not so human. Like this one time I met midgets and massive giants, but they looked very humanoid. They didn't have like 5 eyes or something, They don't look like insects or something. They look very human, just different sizes. And what I would say about that is that as soon as you leave your body, as soon as you have an astral projection, you will encounter a non-physical or an alien in that way, because it's not from here. But it's not necessarily going to be in a spacecraft hovering, flying around and gray, and not necessarily, that those will be one kind that you can probably meet out there, but there's so many more kinds and countless people and dimensions to visit. And
their skulls
it's pretty profound because they have very interesting things that they can teach you. They can show you things that you didn't even know existed, and really inspire you.
Have you got a favorite experience that you want to share with us?
Let's see here. Yeah, okay. I can share, I think the one that was most heartfelt to me. I had an experience where I wanted to meet with my spiritual guide. And it was really cool. It started very cool, a little bit. Okay, I'll just give you the story. So basically, I'll start from the beginning. So I am in this state that I was talking about before, where you start feeling vibrations and you know it's time for you to leave your body. And I was struggling to get out. Sometimes that happens, that we try to get out and we're kind of stuck, and we're like, oh, we're really trying to get out. And I start feeling a hand that was taking my hand very, very gently, very softly. And I can even feel that this hand was a female hand. Like it was a very soft, and it wasn't like hostile. It was a friendly hand. And it just grabbed my hand and it just started to pull me out. And it pulled me out of body. And I was now in my room, and I couldn't see anything. It's just dark. And I knew that somebody has just pulled me out of body. And it was a little bit scary, a little bit creepy, because I was like, okay, I don't know who this person is. But I felt safe. I felt like there's this person, this thing, this whatever it was, doesn't have bad intention. It's just wanted to help me. So I'm now out of body. And I remember my plan of action, which was to meet with my spiritual guide. And there's a few more things that takes place, but in the end, I end up in a forest, a beautiful forest. It kind of just rained a little bit, so it's kind of a little bit wet, um, misty, very mysterious. And there's nobody in this forest, just empty. And I see this hill, and I kind of float through. I go above this hill, and then to my left, I see this like kind of mountain rock, and there's a person there. There's a woman, looks a bit like a Pocahontas kind of figure with feathers and stuff, and she's floating above the ground, about like, this much or something above the ground. She's just hovering there, just doing nothing, just waiting. And I'm like, okay, this person is waiting for me. Like, it's so obvious. So I go up to her, and I'm pretty excited. I'm like, hey, are you my spiritual guide? And she's like, yes, I am. And it was like a conversation back and forth, and I was very excited. I was very like, oh my god, this is happening. Like, I'm having I'm meeting my spirit guide. Like, I have so many questions that I want to ask you. And I remember that it's very important when you meet your spirit guide to actually have your questions ready, and to always have the most important question first, because you don't know how long you're going to have this experience, and so you don't want to miss out on the most important question. And so my most important question was, why did I choose to incarnate in this lifetime? What's my purpose? And I very much thought she would tell me something like, oh yeah, you're supposed to help save the world, or improve this or do that, something global, something big like that. But to my surprise, she said you wanted to incarnate because you wanted to experience love and relationships. And that was it. That's all she said. And I was like, okay, wow. And then, the experience kind of ended shortly after. And it let me reflect on that. And of course, after years of diving into this stuff, like, yeah, love and relationships is probably is the most important reason why are we here? And that to me really resonated with me, because I often think about, like, what is the most important thing in life? What is it? Is it the things that we've been told are important? Society tells us are important. Our career, our jobs, the money we make, the experiences how cool we are, whatever. Like, or is it something else? And if I strip away everything, there's one thing I cannot strip away, and that's always connections, people, relationships. If you take away people and relationships, and you still have everything else in the world, you're miserable, you're sad, you're depressed, you're probably suicidal, because you have nobody to share that with. And it's just so pointless. So definitely, love and relationship is key, uh, for me, and I think for all of us, really. But that was the experience, and yeah, um, it's one of those experiences that definitely, like, changes you afterwards. Like, you have this, you wake up the next, or you wake up from that experience, and you feel changed. You feel like, oh my god, so that was really profound. That was really impactful. And it has that shift that you can only have when you have an experience. It's through experiences that we learn, and we shift, and we become something greater.
That sounds like a very profound epiphany for you. Like that sounds very profound. It's
Yeah.
like some people take a long time to come to that realization that the rest is just fleeting. But that's what really makes people happy, is the quality of relationships they have and the love they
I
have
think
in
you
their
come
life.
to those realization when you are when you're diving into the spiritual stuff. Like if when you start to look at this and you start to realize what is happening beyond this, behind the scenes, and the more and more you kind of dig into it and learn, the more you start to feel that sense of connectiveness with everything, and also with Source, with God. Definitely have that feeling of there's definitely intelligence creating this, have created this, and we're a big part of it. And it's all this amazing growth that's taking place, and it's magnificent. That's the word I would use. It's
Awesome.
amazing.
So, just before we go, and I'll put your outro in the go, but is there any courses or anything you have coming up, or what's the best place for people to find you, and where can
And
they
to
find
learn
you?
this.
Yeah, I have the links in all the descriptions. So, but
Yeah, so what I would say about that. So what is the best way to learn astral projection? Because people go to YouTube to watch YouTube videos, or they read books, and what I've seen is that that's not a very successful route, because what's going to happen is you're going to get stuck very quickly. You're going to have lots of questions. You're not going to know what to do, or what different experience meant, or you had this sensation. What does that mean? How do you overcome that? There's so many details to this practice. And a lot of people try for many, many years. Even I've spoken to people that have tried for 50 years and they haven't succeeded, which is like, oh my God, wow,
Wow.
that's crazy. That's a long time. And so if you actually want to save time and learn how to do this much easier, so that actually you're enjoying the process as you're doing. I mean, that was kind of what I thought about after I started having my own projections. I thought about, oh my God, I want to share this with people, but no one's going to believe me. They need to experience this to believe this. I need to create a program that they can actually have the experiences themselves, and then they'll have that epiphany that I've had, which has been very helpful for me. So I need to create a program that can do that. And so I designed a program that would take somebody that's a complete beginner, has never heard about this, maybe doesn't even know what this is or how it works, to become somebody that can do it on a regular basis. And there's a whole scientific, like, there's a lot of scientists to science to how we do this. Like, there's lots of practical step. It's very pragmatic. Everything is very practical. I like to explain things in very practical ways, because that's how I learned as well. Like I never learned well when someone just said trust the energy and it's going to take you. Like I always needed to sort of
what's
step by
that
step.
mean? Right.
What does that mean? So we create a very detailed step by step program, which has coaching, so that you actually get help from me and my team to help you with the practice, because everyone is different and everyone's going to have specific questions about their own specific life and the way that they do things, and you need to cater those replies to how they are, how, if they're a deep sleeper, if they're a light sleeper, if they're afraid of the dark, if they're, like, there's so many things that people come with. And so we help them navigate that, their life, their job, their kids, there's so many factors they have to kind of get in sync, so that they can have these projections, and so that they can learn how to have them on a regular basis. And so to get in touch with us for that, the links will be in the description of this video. And there is going to be a free video that you can watch there, a training video that explains a bunch of this stuff, like how this stuff works and how we help people. Like all of this stuff is going to be explained in this video. And it's full of lots of visual effects and lots of cool
Yeah.
graphics and cool stuff. So you're going to really enjoy the journey of watching this video. It's about half an hour. Or you can also book a call, which you would do after watching the video, or which you can do now. And this call is basically for free. It's a free call, and you get to talk with us, either me or my team member. And we basically talk to you about, what are you right now with the practice? Are you a beginner? Have you done this for a long time? And then we find a way to make this work for you, because everyone is different. So we find a route, a plan of action that's going to work for you. And then, we either decide if we're gonna work together or not. It's really it's really, there's no expectations, there's no pressure. It's all just a conversation. It's a lovely, interesting conversation. And then whatever happens, happens. You either become a student, or we're just not a good fit and you don't, and that's fine too. But either way, you'll have an amazing call to just kind of find out if this is something that can work for you.
Sounds fascinating. I just have one more piece of business before we go, and I'll put on your outro, which is, of course, with being a special effects master.
Yes, way
so
cool.
I just wonder how many of your astral projections have influenced your films,
Yeah, your videos.
special effects.
Yeah. I mean, it's oh, that's a deep question, because it's really interesting, because when I was studying visual effects, when I was in school, when I was in my 20s, before I even knew anything about astral projection or lucid dreaming, I was working on a short movie which was about a boy, or a guy that went to sleep and his soul left his body and he was traveling in the universe, and he met this other girl that was also having a out of body experience. And so I was actually working on a short movie about an out of body experience before I even knew what out of body experience were, as a youngster. And so if I look back, I can see how this stuff has been kind of like, I don't know, channeled to me little by little. Like there's been like all of these synchronicities that's been taking place throughout my life. I mean, the reason, like right now, uh, when I look back at the reason I had to go through this whole journey of learning how to make movies and visual effects, I can very much see how it was to be able to do what I'm doing now, because being able to visualize these kind of astral projection states, and visualize an energy body, and visualize different realities is very difficult. But if you have a background in visual effects for Hollywood movies, you can do it. And so it's very it's very useful right now that I can actually use that background, that knowledge, to create inspiring videos and movies. And there's a lot of things I want to keep creating as well to inspire more people.
Oh, yay.
And because I think that that's the way we can communicate successfully to people what this stuff is, to really show them, like, hey, this is what it could be like. Imagine this. So it's really powerful.
That is so cool. Yeah, and I love like, I've seen a couple of your little intros, and I'm just like, bow to the master.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that Shelby Kermy shared out the most last week. So remember, you guys share it out, and you will win a soul spa meditation that Teresa inspired, and Bex and I also provide healing on, and it's good for any time. You can visit any time, have your half-hour soul spa meditation. Thank you again so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time and your effort, and it's been just an awesome journey.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy that I get the chance to speak like this, because I know there's a lot of people that have not heard about this so much in the spiritual community, and I really would like more people in the spiritual community to just kind of dive into this, read some book about this, because I think for most of you, this is exactly what you would like to do. Like this is very much in tune with the values that we have as spiritual people, and there's so much potential for this,
and so
and
much validation in it.
Yeah, and it's such a beautiful journey, and it's actually attainable. You can do it from your bedroom. Like, it's not like you have to go somewhere really far, and it's not complicated. It can be very, very straightforward. And so if you out there, if you feel this calling, like, oh my God, I feel this, there's an emotion in me that kind of is tingling right now, then by all means book a call with us so we can discuss that, because that to me is usually a calling that's like born within you, just the same way that I had a calling that's been with me my whole life that I just couldn't define what it was. It took some time, but I know this is what it was. Now I just know for sure that this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I feel very centered in that. And there's many of us out there, many light workers out there that can really be a part of this shift to help more, to help us wake up to our full potentials, to the fact that we're multidimensional beings, waking up to this truth, and going away from the illusion of just being this physical, separated being, separated from everything else. and just kind of owning our lights that we have. I think that's so crucial for us to do at this very moment in this process that we're going through right now as an awakening. There's so many things happening, and it's kind of our responsibility to tap into what we are and not forget what we are, not get sort of sidetracked into maybe a technological AI robotic implant kind of human being in the future, but actually going back to this amazing technology that we already have, that we just have to learn how to use, that has been doing amazing things for thousands of years. Like, we just have to learn how to tap into that. I think that's our little mission right now.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Really appreciate you being here today again.
Thank you
I'm gonna try and figure out the technology that I've got in front of me. So just bear with me, everyone. I'll be one moment. I'm gonna do that.
Namaste.
Hi, guys.
Namaste. Thanks.
Now, more information about our Astral Projection program, then please click the link below and visit our website. Here you can watch our free Astral Projection training video, our student stories, and also book a free discovery call with us. During this call, we will discover where you are at with the practice right now and where you would like to be in the future, and then create a plan of action and making that a reality for you. So we're looking forward to be speaking to you soon. My name is Florentin Ionita, and I am a truth seeker.